Do you have any takes?
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Hot Seat. We are live in real time here at the Social Media Show studio, and we are always bringing you some new and amazing people with great stories here on the Hot Seat to really question them and figure out what it is they do and why they do it. So our first guest, I actually had the pleasure of meeting last week at a comedy show. He is hailing here from the East Coast, and he is pretty new to comedy, but his talent shows otherwise. So everyone, please welcome Evan Connolly. Evan, how are you? Good to see you again. Good. Please take a seat. It's your first time here in the studio, right? So how are you doing today? It's a beautiful day in Las Vegas, right?
Another day on the right side of the grass.
Of course, of course. So we had the pleasure of meeting last week. If you guys remember that we had a comedian on the show before named Lex Las Vegas. I actually went to his 2-year anniversary comedy show, and I had the pleasure of meeting Evan there. So, Evan, we had, guys to know each other a little bit at the bar. And you are actually from Boston, correct?
Yeah, from Boston, Massachusetts.
And you hadn't always done comedy, right? I know you were actually in the Army, you played poker.
I was in the Army, moved out here for poker and gambling, and kind of got into comedy during COVID when everything shut down and the casinos were down for more of a social life and getting out of the house a bit when the open mics started opening up and everybody still had masks. And
yeah. So it's pretty new for you to be doing comedy, right?
Yeah, I tried it a bit in Boston when I first got out of the Army. I took a class at the Improv Boston in Cambridge. But I only probably did it like 8 times in like 5 years. And then really got into it out in Vegas.
So what made you get into that in Boston? Just coming out of the Army? Was that something part of your childhood that kind of inspired you? What's the story?
Always kind of into it and wanted a way to try to meet people and didn't want to go to college. Because I thought bar tabs at open mics would be cheaper than tuition or going to college if I wasn't that into college or that. So just a way to get out, meet people, find a life outside of high school or the Army kind of knew.
And that's pretty brave of you because being a stand-up comic, you have to be in front of people and you have to kind of work the audience and get them to laugh, basically, right? So that's pretty much going 0 to 100. You're not just socializing, but you're also grabbing the mic and you want to be in front of the people as well.
It's an ultimate icebreaker because then people feel like they know you from seeing you on stage versus just going to a bar and saying, oh, I'm going to try to meet friends. And then you just sit at the bar nursing a glass of whiskey all night. You know, I mean, it's a way that gets you out in front of people and people feel more confident. Like, I didn't know anybody moving out here. And now I'm very fortunate to have a lot of friends that I all met through comedy for the most part.
So when you're a professional poker player, so that's what brought you out here. How long have you been doing that for? And when did that opportunity arise to kind of look at Las Vegas as a home?
Honestly, I always wanted to move to Vegas. There was something about the smoke and mirrors of Vegas I kind of liked. And I always thought every place was as expensive as Massachusetts. So I was like trying to save money and thought it would be like super expensive because you're from Chicago, right?
Yes.
So Chicago probably is a similar high. It's expensive to live in the city and stuff. So I thought every apartment everywhere was like $2,300 and very expensive. And then I looked it up one day and realized that Vegas, and this was right before COVID, so it was cheap to live here. And I was like, oh crap, I can move out now. I didn't realize how much cheaper it was to live here versus Massachusetts or other places.
Yeah, and you found that through actually already being an avid poker player, right?
Yeah, and the casinos are out here. I'd always want to live near a casino.
And so do you still compete?
Yeah, I still play poker a lot. I was at the Bellagio yesterday hanging out for a while, and I like the casino vibe, and I like to... It's cool in Vegas because it's like the only city you can like mosey down to the casino.
Right,
you know, because there's like you're never far from one. So if you're ever bored or you want to kill time, I'll go to the sports book or something. Like it's pretty accessible around here.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton.
Yeah, so when you, out of COVID, like everything closed, obviously, all the casinos closed. First time the strips ever had to like chain their doors.
Yeah.
Right? And so you just kind of went back to comedy. Was there something about it that you still held on to that you're like, I really just have this love to go back into it? Apart from COVID, obviously. And
Yeah.
that you couldn't gamble.
It was definitely something I always wanted to do. But I feel like you need the time to do it. Because to really get good at comedy, you have to go to open mics every night. Multiple ones a night. And you can't really have too many other friends. So it's kind of the perfect timing. Because in Boston, I had a lot more friends that it's like... When I was younger, it was more important to be funny to my friends or be funny to girls at bars than meet a whole new group of friends and... dedicate to stand-up versus out here where I didn't know anybody. It's like, oh, okay, now I could actually go to open mics every night. I could turn that into my life because it kind of needs the full attention, you know what I mean? You can't...
So do you say that you've made it really another full-time job currently? Are you doing open mics a lot?
I do a lot of open mics because now it's part of my life that if I don't have anything to do and there's an open mic going on, I'm going to go do it. But I am lucky that I get to do a lot of actual shows and stuff too. And that puts a little beans in my jeans, a few cash. But I'd say it's like a part-time job for doing it. Like I'm going on the road this weekend to Arizona with a friend and that will be a fun show. Or I do Kimmel's a couple times a month and those are fun shows. But if it was by where you are the most, like I still go to 2 or 3 open mics a night, and that's just because there's so many of them.
There's one tonight. Are you going to be there tonight?
I have tonight I'm doing the open mic at Wiseguys in the Arts District. They do an open mic every Tuesday and Wednesday. Then I have a show in Henderson at the Penalty Box.
Okay.
Over in Henderson, and then I was gonna probably go to Lex's open mic thing
Yeah,
after.
I was going to go hang out. So.
Tonight's like another 3 shows tonight, just driving around, and I'll probably collectively get around 20 minutes of stage time.
Yeah.
Between the Wiseguys are shorter; they're like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The Henderson's a book show, so there's only 6 of us, so it's probably more like 10 minutes, and then whatever Lex's chaos
We're more as like a hangout, but it's pretty fun though, you know.
Yeah, I'm
a lot of
hoping.
people
Yeah,
and it's a pretty cool bar.
I was a bit of a boozy Susie last week, and I was so. But it was more of a party vibe. With
I think we all were. And it was pretty fun though, and I feel it's a great hangout time, meet people.
Yeah, it's always a great
open
hang.
mic,
It's funny that there's open mics where it's like everyone's really trying to be better. And then there's open mics that it's like you're hanging out at a bar with your friends, and then your friend disappears for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And nobody even listens to them do it. And it's like on Tuesdays, there's 3 open mics. And it starts at Wiseguys. Do you know the Arts District?
I do, yes.
So then, like Wiseguys, you go down to Artifice, and then there's Champagne's on Maryland Parkway. Yeah. And by the time everybody gets to Champagne's at midnight, everyone's so drunk. It's like, it's a mess. Nobody's listening. Nobody's... Right. Yeah, it's kind of funny seeing the progression.
Yeah, it's a good time, though. It's part of the environment. You know, a lot of comedy shows do happen at lounges. They happen at bars. Even
not a lot of libraries.
Yeah, and comedians open their own. There's always going to be a bar there that's kind of like that relaxed night out.
Yeah, it kind of has to be surrounded by booze and having fun. Yeah. And it's always a cool hang.
So what comedians do you look up to that you would like to be inspired by their work? Who are they?
Like Stephen Wright. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Mitch Hedberg. I like a lot of the one-liner guys. Okay. Which are some of the older guys. But I like more of the jokey jokes than the stories and the long.
Okay, yeah. So would you say that you've modeled your work based on kind of like a one-liner type?
Yeah, one-liner, deadpan, very dry. I like that kind of.
Yeah. So what's one joke that you've realized? Because obviously everyone knows live audiences, depending on the city you're in, depending on the area of the city that you're in, some things work and some don't. Is there one general one that you feel like is your go-to? Let's say it's so dry, but you know that no matter what the crowd is, this is the one that's going to get them at least to giggle a little bit.
Okay. That's clean? Well,
It
I don't
does.
know why I always say that because I am pretty clean. I don't really.
You don't.
So
really
it's kind of
smell that
weird.
much, yeah.
Well, when I was driving over here today, somebody flipped me off because there was a lot of traffic going on. Someone gave me the finger. I never get road rage because I'm a happy drunk. And then that one's usually pretty.
Yeah.
Takes a second, and then I have like 7 other drinking jokes and DUI jokes. And then after I beat a dead horse for 3 minutes, I move on and then start on a new horse.
Yeah.
But my Instagram name's Stairway to Evan.
Okay.
And that's usually my
Everyone's
opener. Stairway to Evan, that's how I like to start.
Right.
And that hasn't gotten me a ton of followers, but every time it does, I'm like, oh.
Maybe after the show, I can get
Yes.
You can't forget that. Stairway to Evan.
So far, I opened for Pauly Shore.
Okay. Yes.
Opened for him a couple weeks ago, and that was the first time I really got
that's pretty cool.
I opened with the joke about my Instagram, and I was like, "Oh crap! I actually got followers from this."
Yeah,
so I was like,
"It's easy to remember. It's not something that's like 500 letters and underscore and dot slash."
Yeah.
So, what is your goal with comedy? Is this something you want to make full time? Are you still going to be dedicated to poker? What do you want to do with it?
I'd love to just do the road.
Okay.
That's what I'd like, is to just be able to. I'm a part of 2 residencies at Jimmy Kimmel's right now.
Okay.
Josh Wolf and John Caparulo. And those guys, they have the dream. Because they have residencies on Monday and Tuesday. Mm-hmm. They do Kimmel's on the Strip. And then they can hit the road every weekend. Mm-hmm. So they're making all the cash on the road. Then they live in Vegas. They do a night residency here. That's like the dream, is have like a weekday residency in Vegas and just hit the road and see the country.
So how do you normally, because stand-up comedy is a little different. Is it more of who you know? Or are you actively searching for open mics? Like, how do you begin to tour as a freelance comic?
A lot of people have different ways of doing it. Right now, my plan is meeting and networking with people. Vegas is a cool city that a lot of interesting people roll through. A lot of people who, like, both the people who I just said who have the Kimmel's residency were in LA at the Comedy Store for a long time.
Yeah.
And then after they're kind of done with LA, they've put their mark on it. They move out to a place like Vegas. So it's kind of hoping one of those guys ends up taking you on the road. Like, the guy who's taking me on the road this weekend, his name's Kool-Aid.
Okay.
And he's a great Vegas comic. He has a special coming out soon on Amazon Prime. I got close with him, and then he asked if I wanted to take this trip to Arizona. So you kind of...
It's all on networking.
That,
kind of who you know.
A club at Wiseguys, you start opening for people, and then they can... the goal is hopefully one of them will like you and say, hey, why don't you come do these dates with me? And But it takes a while. Like,
yeah. So there's really no audition process. It's more you just go to open mics. You kind of hope that people, your comedy gets traction, and then you kind of network that way.
Vegas is lucky that there's open mics out at a comedy club, which is at Wiseguys. So that's like the best open mic because there's a booker there. You're in an actual comedy club. You're not in like some cafe that has a happy hour and somebody hits jackpot during one of your jokes and there's like hand pays and some dude smoking a cigarette watching the Golden Knights and like it's cool to have it at an actual comedy club. So it's kind of easier in Vegas to start to try to get noticed. And everybody, all the road comics come through here and they'll play the room. So you get like an interesting experience kind of opening for those guys.
Okay.
So that's kind of the blueprint. But it all starts at open mics and it's not really a thing you graduate from. You just kind of... I always see it as you just go out to do comedy every night. And hopefully one day you're doing more shows than open mics.
So do you change up your set every show? Or do you try to...
Not really.
You maintain pretty much...
I go, they haven't heard it yet.
Okay.
I'll do the same one. I open mics, I'll change it up a lot because I'm working on new jokes. If I'm doing like an actual show, I have a pretty set routine that I like to do and I feel comfortable with, and I can perform it more because I'm not worried about the jokes because I know them so well. Right. Sometimes when you're trying a new joke, you don't really perform it well because you're trying to remember and you're like looking around like, are they laughing? Is this going to bomb? Where it's the jokes you kind of know, you can really start performing and add the extra Like, I know you said you're a actress, right?
Yes.
So then that's like a whole nother thing with comedy is you're writing the jokes, and then it's different trying to learn how to actually perform them.
Right.
Because I know when I started, it was a lot of standing still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have
A
to
lot
be a
of
performer
monotone.
at the same time.
Yeah. It was very monotone and not moving. So I like doing the same act so I can try to focus on having energy, especially if it's like a paid show where it's like these people deserve something that's. If people are paying tickets and it's on the strip, you need to give them value.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
This is the time to try a new joke, and you need to put in the miles at open mics for it. And once you feel comfortable, maybe throw it in there.
So for you, what would you say makes a great comic in your eyes as a comedian yourself? Like, what really makes a great comic?
Being bald.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Hey, I mean, you got
There's
Dave
a lot,
Chappelle, a lot of them.
Joe
Listen,
Rogan,
Joe Coy, you got a few of them that are, you might be onto something with that.
Makes a. I don't know. I just like people that are dedicated to it.
Okay.
I like lifers. You know what I mean? I like people that are in it for life, regardless of the small stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I know a lot of people get anxious, and I can fall for it too with like the small day to day. Why am I not getting this one? Why am I not getting that gig? I know I like people that just worry about the big picture, and stuff brushes off, and no matter what, you're just going to go out and do it every night, so you don't really care.
Right.
You're not really looking for approval from people or anything. And I always kind of like the crazier people that will do weird shows. I've done a lot of weird shows.
Yeah, I mean, last week it was pretty odd. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be like that tonight. But it's a great time, so everyone can come out.
There are a few shows coming out soon, January 26th and February 10th, that I'm helping run, where the comics wear shock collars.
Oh, no.
Like Chihuahua shock collars that are on level 2. And audience members get to shock them if they don't like the joke.
Oh, no.
It doesn't hurt. It barely hurts.
Yeah, I would think that would kind of be like.
But it's the whole gimmick of it. So I kind of like the gimmick stuff and the kind of weird.
So what legacy are you trying to leave behind in comedy? If you were to make it to the end.
Legacy. I don't know. I would just like to be known as funny.
Okay.
I like that. Like there's people that you see like that are pretty undisputably funny. Just funny people.
Yeah.
They stay out of the press or whatever. Like, Zach Galifianakis.
Yes.
He was a stand-up. And he was just known as a funny guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't really hear bad stuff, just known for being funny and goofy and silly.
Yeah.
I like the goofier, sillier stuff. And just
not taken too seriously, you're just...
Yeah, you don't want to forget to be funny. I know I've gone to LA a bunch and done stand-up in LA, and kind of a different scene.
Oh, I can imagine. I feel like it's very cutthroat, especially when you go to a comedy store. Like, everyone's trying to get that big break and that next, Well,
not just that.
Heart type vibe.
It gets very, snappy, like, kind of vague. Not vague, very, you're supposed to be vulnerable. Like, there's not too many jokes. Like, I did a club there, and the booker was like, oh, you're not vulnerable enough. You have to talk about your truths. And it's like, or you can just be funny.
Comedy, right. If that's
Exactly.
not your vibe, then that's fine.
Yeah. And everyone out there, they're like, it's all their sad story kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Versus punchlines or just trying to be silly. Like, no one's silly out there. It's like deep political.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
And it's cool, but you don't have to hate on people that...
Right, because in order to stand out, you have to be kind of different. If that's not your thing, trying to make that work is really not your style, and that's not going to work out.
And I don't care if you don't know who I vote for after seeing me do stand-up.
Right, it has nothing to do with your performance. It's like what we talked about, it is a show, right? You are performing. You're not there to kind of really get into war there.
And some people believe you have to have a message, and that's cool for them. But you also don't. You can also just be silly and just try to be goofy. But there's room for all of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So this final question that I always ask all of my guests on here kind of sums up their whole story as a whole and who they are as a person. Is there a philosophy that you live by?
Philosophy that I live by? Okay. This one I made up, so it might be kind of stupid.
It's never stupid.
when you're driving on the road, you don't look at other people's GPSs.
Hey,
just
that's
get
not
where
stupid
you're
at all. I like that one.
Plug it in, follow your
Right. Yeah.
try to separate and not worry who gets what. And
where they're going. Right. We all have different destinations.
it's easy to fall into the how I've been wronged and
right.
all the injustices. I always do. I'm like, all these people hate me. And it's like, maybe I'm being a bit dramatic. Maybe.
Hey, I've been there too.
It's
You're not
evident.
dramatic. That's your story, and that's what makes you you, right?
That's the best is when you because so much stuff you think is like you're the only one going through, and then you talk to somebody else and you go, I'm an idiot. Everybody has those feelings.
In their own way, you know, but we've
yeah.
all been there sooner or later. And honestly, though, that's what makes you better. The people that don't go through hard things, they lead their lives differently because it's easier for them, per se, compared to when you feel like everything has gone wrong for you and you're waiting for that one silver lining. Sometimes it just takes longer than others, but you've built, you know, a shield in order to be able to withstand
you get some resilience under your belt and you start getting a bit thicker skinned.
Yeah, I love that for you. That was a great answer. It's very different, you know, than what a lot of other people, but you are different than a lot of my other guests.
Thank you.
So please remind our audience where they can come see you tonight.
Tonight at the Penalty Box in Henderson, Nevada. And then Shock Collar Comedy at Notoriety on January 26th. And every Monday at Jimmy Kimmel's. But sometimes I don't do stand-up. I take off my shirt and dance in the background.
Oh, dear. Okay, maybe I'll see that tonight at Han Izakaya.
Yeah.
So if you want to come out, there's going to be a little fun open mic plus socializing at Han Izakaya on Decatur. And that starts at 10 p.m. So if you guys are willing to come out, it's always nice to mingle. I don't do comedy at all. I was just there to support. And then I ended up meeting people. And it was a pretty good time, you know? Nothing crazy. It's a bar, so it's not like you don't have to sit down and watch a show if you don't really want to. But so tell us your social media before we really go.
Stairway to Evan Connolly. Stairway to Evan Comedy. I almost said my last name by accident.
But it rolls off the tongue. It's almost
Stairway to Evan. That's the important part.
And are you on Facebook? Is this just Instagram? Is
I'm on Facebook as Evan Connolly, and that's about it.
Okay.
I haven't gone to the TikTok yet.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Evan. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. So you guys... No worries. So you guys don't go anywhere. We're going to have our next guest coming on soon. So everyone, please give a round of applause for Evan.
Hey, Evan.
Please support him. Come out to the open mics. Come see shows. Come support our Vegas comics. You never know. They might be the next special up on Netflix. So... yeah, look out for them. And when we come back, we're going to go into another area of entertainment, so don't go anywhere so you can see our next guest.